I don't know about you, but Pecharunt was aiming too low with the loyal 3. Heck, if I had those powers, I'd have had a whole army of friends under my control. One of every type. In this video, I'm going to give you a new loyal Pokemon of every type, a loyal 18 or so. I hope you like poison typing here because it's going to be in every single Pokemon here. Before we begin, comment down below what Pokemon I should set my sights on for the next of every type video. So let's find out our first highly depressed victim, the friend to improve their lives with, yeah.
Some lucky ducks get all the luck, some break their backs to make a buck.
I'm going to preface this all by saying I've used the loyal freeze types again, as I had some fun ideas for the Pokemon involved. So, move over Monkey Dory, we have a Psyduck to enslave. The idea here was for this Psyduck to be so dang fed up with headaches that Pecharunt helped suppress it, and by doing so its brain is now all big and swollen with some, real nasty poisons up there in its mind for some malicious thinking powers. The way the chain shows up here was also partially inspired by the way Japanese men would wear their ties after a long night out or after they missed the final train to go home. This Pokemon is not nearly as silly as them though. You'll notice that every Pokemon here is not their initial typing, as it's highly suggested that the Loyal 3 also had completely different types before they met Pecharunt anyway. Lucky Ducky, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and psychic type. A Psyduck that was so fed up with its headaches, it cried out one day. These cries were heard by Pecharunt, and so a deal was struck. The toxic chain wrapped around Lucky Ducky's head keep their powers in check, allowing them to scheme all day. By focusing their psychic energy towards a foe, they can instill debilitating headaches upon them. The foe's head will even turn a shade of purple. Flying type next, and for this one I chose Shelgon. I thought that the idea of this Shelgon that was just too impatient and couldn't wait any longer to fly, so Pecharunt was like, I got you fam. It was just too funny not to use. It took the most time just kind of thinking of the actual names for all these Pokemon. Small but I guess happy phrases for most of them, as much as I could rack my brain to do. But I'm particularly happy with the name for this one, Shell Yeah. Which is fitting as it'd absolutely be screaming that now that it has the ability to fly around, using the toxic chains like wings, which are partially based off helicopter rotors. That's the fun thing about this design challenge because the chains are so malleable they can really become whatever I want, even funny little baby wings. Shell Yeah, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and flying type. Pecharunt met a down under sluck Shelgon one day who wished to fly, and so instead of waiting to evolve, Pecharunt empowered them with toxic wings and stimulated their bodies to lighten, allowing them to take to the skies. Shell Yeah now goes around to camps with Bagon and Shelgon, only to tease them and sometimes even picking up and dropping them from high places. Shell Yeah is not a kind Pokemon. I wanted to make for Dragon type a form that was a bit silly, and I chose for it Tangela. My big inspo here was that all of the various vines that make up Tangela's body are fully replaced with toxic chain loops, but they all kind of wrap up together in such a way that it now looks like a bit of a grumpy dragon. This one's name was probably one of the silliest ones, being Drake It Off. It was supposed to be a joke on Shake It Off, but honestly it sounds like Take It Off and gives me bad vibes from this Tangela. This is one where I felt the rendering on it was just chef's kiss. Mwah, excellent. Could totally see a cutscene of your character finding this sleepy dragon face and watching as it rises up only to reveal that the real face is just this grumpy little lad in the center scowling at you. A bit like the gaping dragon from Dark Souls. Drake It Off, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and dragon type. A Tangela wanting to evolve by getting in touch with its ancient side, Pecharunt tried to help by encasing it in toxic chains. They then slowly became Drake It Off and no longer looks back on what its life once was. They use their large dragon-shaped arm to bite other Pokemon, injecting them with a fast-acting toxin, all in an effort to get the Pokemon away from Drake It Off. If that doesn't work, they will sit there and just scowl till the offender leaves. Fire type was one I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I needed a bit of a lazier Pokemon for it, and what better than Little Slack Off for it? The peak of early game laziness. I could have done Snorlax or Slaking, but I felt we needed a little extra variety here, and I do Snorlax later. The toxic chains here become sort of like running gear, creating these two comically large shoes and a type of runner's visor. And you know, just like a runner's visor, they're completely ablaze as well. It kind of reminded me of like in anime when a character is full of passion. Their eyes or like head goes on fire. Little guy would just constantly be moving on the spot like they're on fire too. See, there wouldn't have been any trouble if Pecharunt had gotten Sloth Start here to steal all the moss instead. I guess there isn't any Psychoth in Kitakami though, huh? Sloth Start, the retainer Pokemon, are poison and fire type. A Slakoth wished to be more motivated and to move with purpose, and so in exchange for its friendship, Pecharunt provided just that. Sloth Start's shoes constantly stimulate the muscles in their legs, causing constant movement. This also a late Sloth Start, and that passion wells up and roars out of their head in a burning flame. Sloth Start can be observed running across the countryside like a comet, burning the ground wherever they run. There's two Pokemon in this video that pretend to be types they aren't. The first one here is Lurantis, but I'm pretty sure you can guess who the other one will be. I thought it'd be funny if Pecharunt gave them their want and so it changed them into a poison bug type, one of the most common bug type pairing. Lurantis loses all that kind of made it beautiful here. Their color is drained, making way for a very, I guess, evil brown and dark looking color scheme, reminding me a bit of like dead leaves. However, it isn't all low saturation, their chains still glow bright, becoming a stand-in for large bug antenna and wings while still holding a bit of that kimono tassel energy to them. And also bright green toxic spikes now line our new Pokemon, dubbed Manti Hands. Like, many hands make light work. And Mantis, yeah, listen, it's hard to make so many good pun names that include the animal in it. Manti Hands, the retainer Pokemon, are poison and bug type. A Lurantis wished for the ferocity to protect its brood, caring not for its beauty. And so Pecharunt gave them the power to do so. The toxic claws of Manti Hands are further enhanced by the chains that bind them, pumping lethal poison into a single scratch. Their bright colors mean they no longer can hide away in flower fields, but they choose not to, preferring to hunt down prey fearlessly. Alright, how about electric type? Originally I was going to do something like Sloth Start and have a Pokemon charged with energy for running about, but nah, I had a better idea. What if Mimikyu just wanted to be a real Chew? Well, meet me and Chew. This is another one of those designs that turned out surprisingly good looking, even though it's mostly just a Pokemon covered in the toxic chain material. Pecharunt gave Mimikyu a whole dang new suit to get into, which I guess now is bound to Mimikyu itself. It's supposed to sort of emulate Pikachu, but also is legally distinct enough in its own way. Like some kind of wild bootleg Pikachu toy you'd find. Mimikyu is about to become the next Labubu, trust. Sounds like I'm just saying gibberish now, to be honest. Because this thing is kind of part of Mimikyu now and not just cloth, it has its own working face with eyes and mouth. Creepy considering that the OG eyes of Mimikyu are still there in the chest cavity though. Ugh, almost more unsettling than Mimikyu actually. Mimikyu, the retainer Pokemon, are poison and electric type. A Mimikyu that wished only to be loved met the adoration of Pecharunt, who gave them the form they always wished for. Mimikyu are a kind Pokemon that absorbs all the love. If you do not provide it with love, however, it lashes out with a poisoned tail, and will leave you for someone else who will love it more as you lay on the ground poisoned. We're going Ghost next, and for this one I decided Mousehold was a good choice. I'm positive you can guess where this one is going, huh? This lone Mousehold, I guess, child was lonely and sad missing their lost parents, or maybe it was just alone, and so Pecharunt came along and was like, "You'll never be alone again." The chain is attached much like the sort of child-friendly leashes you'd have wrapped around kind of one wrist. But instead of leashing the Mousehold, we now have two quite gruesome specters shaped to look like the two lost family members, molded from the toxic chain. I made it so that the one little mouse looks like a very upset child, a sort of I threw up look to it as it stands in the doorway, and maybe even a little partially distressed that it's now got these two ghosts always with it. It's got a little bit of a JoJo stand energy behind it as well. It's all fun and games till it starts throwing its parents about like bludgeons. I Mouse You, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and ghost type. A lost and alone mousehold cried out in the night for someone to cure its loneliness, and the call was answered by Pecharunt. The two toxic chains simply appeared to be their lost parents, merely following a subconscious will to protect our Mouse-U. They are prone to lashing out and crying as they are still only a child Pokemon at heart, and can be quite petty too. You know who yearns to be a grass type, but no matter what they do, they'll never achieve it? That's right, you poor Sudowoodo. But with the power of the toxic chain, we can make that a reality. No, don't look at terrestrialization orb, okay? Don't look. I thought the name Treesy Peasy here was kind of a bomb name. I wanted this very malevolent looking Sudowoodo where all of their, I guess, finger baubles now are replaced by massive toxic chains, shaped to look a bit like a clump of tree leaves, giving it also a bit of a look like a cherry blossom tree, which is fitting for the Kitakami area. It gets that almost haunted Disney tree design to it, or even just like Trevenant gaining a bunch of root legs instead of the two they somehow speed along on. There is a meme face here that I've seen before that has a very similar vibe to Treesy Peasy, but I can't quite place my finger on it. Comment below if it rings any bells. Treesy Peasy, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and grass type. A Sudowoodo's desire to be a tree allowed Pecharunt to convince it to become one of their loyal followers. In wrapping the toxic chains around their body, it induced a sudden change to the grass type. Treesy Peasy stand around in forests waiting for Pokemon to walk by. It will wrap their chains around the Pokemon, suddenly hanging them and draining their life force. Before they perish, Treesy Peasy drops them, laughing maniacally as they run away. Steel was next, and I chose Bounsweet for this one. The poor little thing is just too sweet for its own good, and so other Pokemon just come along and eat it. But what if they couldn't? This Bounsweet must have got some ideas for Ferrothorn here, as the toxic chains become almost Ferrothorn-like arms for the little creature. And it knows it's now a big old bunker of pain. Look at that grin. This one I need no reminding where I know it's from, because it's 100% that girl's face standing in front of that house fire. Constitution knows what it's done here. Constitution, the retainer Pokemon, are poison and steel type. A Bounsweet watched all of its peers be devoured and wished to be stronger. In exchange for its friendship, Pecharunt gave it a powerful and hardy body. Lined with toxic spikes as well as a steel-like shell, nothing can get close to Constitution. Bird Pokemon will wail and cry trying to peck it, and the whole time Constitution just makes a wry, knowing face. Dark type, and surprised I chose Snorlax here. The big idea was Snorlax that didn't want to be so lax anymore, and so those toxic chains become a bit of a corset for the creature. I imagine that Relax Unwind had now become almost like a masseuse, using their strong burly body to give strong massages to other Pokemon, maybe only breaking a few bones in the process while doing so. Giving a bit of a Fezandipity-like geisha look to it, and I think these two would get along pretty well. They definitely talk smack about other Pokemon and just point and laugh constantly. That's just how bad bitches be though. Relax Unwind, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and dark type. A Snorlax that wished to be more of use to the world, rather than just lazing about, found itself striking a deal with Pecharunt. The toxic chains enhanced their movement powers and gave it access to brain power it never knew it had. Relax Unwind will use a secret massage technique, utilizing its whole body. Those that survive the ordeal are greatly empowered, but not many survive with all their bones intact. This one was a bit of a decision, because I thought why not make a pure poison type? Really cover all the types here. I chose Aromatisse here and decided to go along that classic route of the Plague Doctor, with a few little special tidbits added. I thought it'd be cool if the toxic chains were actually the masked beak for Placebo here, but the mask also makes up some large glasses that sort of remind me of some of those kind of crackpot old ladies, and you can't tell me that these wouldn't make a killer design for an old lady poison type gym leader's glasses, or even just a general outfit. This would honestly almost work as well as an Evo to Aromatisse if it was a bit bigger in design, but no, this is part of the loyal A-Team crew. Placebo, the retainer Pokemon, a pure poison type. An aromatisse that simply wanted to help people more with its aromas found a deal with Pecharunt, who enhanced their aromas with the poisons of the toxic chain. Their beak holds various aromas from plants and their own poisons. When they open their mouth, it leaks out in various amounts. These aromas can cure almost anything that ails a person, or in enough of a dose outright prove fatal. It all depends on the mood of placebo. Fairy type now, and I chose Absol. No longer interested in being a vision of disaster, Absol is given the chance to become Absolutely. I thought it'd be cool if their general toxic chain outfit now is based on a monk's outfit. Instead of the prayer beads, it's instead the chain adorning their chest and making a large skirt-like design, also bringing that horn down a little bit to make a calmer, more pleasant-looking yin-yang design to the head. Wouldn't want anyone thinking they are too dangerous. Out of the whole crew, this Pokemon would probably be the kindest and most chill of the loyal 18. Absolutely, the retainer Pokemon are poison and fairy type. An Absol that was sick of being shunned by the nearby villagers for being considered a cursed Pokemon. They wished to become more, and Pecharunt realized that wish. Absolutely still lives up on mountains, but will provide aid for anyone who requires it. Their general change in look means humans no longer fear them, but other Pokemon should. If Absolutely wishes, it can deliver strikes so potent that boulders shatter at a mere touch. Ground type now, and this one is probably the most unsettling, and that's simply because it's for an unsettling Pokemon that shouldn't exist. In canon, I think Dracovish is a baby girl and a good Pokemon. Makeavish has one of the oddest toxic chains here, as it now becomes a pair of above-water breathing lungs, sitting uncomfortably on their body, and you know they'd be just, rising and falling and undulating in their animations, just to show how nasty it is. I like to imagine this thing is absolutely gigantic as well. Their growth emboldened by the toxic chains, and so this is like the guard dog of the loyal 18. Still just as chompy as old Dracovish, but now it can catch you anywhere and hunt you down. Another design where I really enjoy the rendering on it. Let me kiss your big gross lungs there, Makeavish. Makeavish, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and ground type. A Dracovish that got stuck on land and about to perish, Pecharunt came along and gave it the ability to breathe on land. Their giant bodies lumber slowly along to conserve energy and breathe properly, but when it spots prey or something Pecharunt wants gone, it is sent into a frenzy, moving faster than any other Pokemon, and attempting to bite down on the foe. If it runs for too long it gets winded and must stay still and breathe for a period of time. Normal type is a bit of a weird one. I chose Yamask. Why Yamask? Oh, you just wait. So instead of evolving into a walking sarcophagus, Yamask is given a toxic chain body. A kinda humanoid one, in fact. It almost gives you like Hubba Bubba Bubblegum on legs vibes, but I thought it was funny that it becomes this sort of pseudo-human, a bit like how me and Chew got to become its own Pika clone. They still keep their mask, but now it's firmly lodged in their chest, and I don't know, I just really like the thought of this thing being a normal type now and trying to act like a human in Kitakami and just no one buying it and freaking out about this giant pig thing trying to buy groceries or maybe even trying to be a trainer. Oh yeah, the retainer Pokemon are poison and normal type. A forlorn Yamask thinking about the days it used to be human sat weeping. Pecharunt came along and they became fast friends, with Pecharunt providing a new humanoid body for Oya to enjoy. It loves to enter human settlements in hopes of blending in. Its failure to copy human movements lead people to be horrified and run away. This serves to only anger Oya, and it will begin tying up humans in an attempt to force them to become friends. Rock type is one for a Pokemon that lost its armor in Cursula. Instead of being the sad little spooker with only the ghostly ectoplasm, it gets replaced with a shiny new shell of toxic chain. I wanted it to look like a pink coral similar to what they'd look like if they hadn't experienced coral bleaching and stayed as a Cursula, and almost could pass off as a Cursula regional form. I guess non-regional form. I chose the name Balderdash here because I was way beyond running out of ideas for names, but I don't think it's the worst name. And it gives me the cute idea of it retracting the spikes all over and rolling around like a happy little boulder. Probably the happiest of the loyal 18 actually, which is a bit sad for the rest of them. Boulder Dash, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and rock type. A Corsola wished to have their body returned after the ravaging of its environment, and Pecharunt was overjoyed to provide it, creating a rocky strong armor that made Boulder Dash content and capable of protecting itself from the horrible Marinies and Toxapexes of the ocean. The tip of each of their coral-like spines drips a poison. Those that are jabbed with the poison begin to seize up and paralyze, resembling rocks themselves, and even being unable to breathe after a while. Water was one that I struggled the most with and ended up going with Skeledirge. The idea here was a Skeledirge that wanted to be able to play beautiful music that wasn't so haunting, so the toxic chains instead become a harp for them, trading all those flames as a strumming prowess to play, as if, it flows like water itself. This one is the one I'm most iffy about, but I wanted something that changed the Pokemon in some way, and I also really wanted to use the name Latergator somewhere in the video, so let me have this one, alright? Latergator, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and water type. A Skeledirge that wished for its music to be more beautiful and reach everyone's ears, made a deal with Pecharunt, as the binding chains became a harp on its body. The music it plays leaves any that hear it in a trance, and Latergator can use it to control the minds of those that hear it. Those under its control will be forced to dance when Pecharunt's binding mochi fails. 2 left, and we have Ice type here, and I chose Spinder. A weird choice to be sure, but just listen, alright? A Spinder that didn't want to be so clumsy and wanted grace, so Pecharunt transformed it into an Ice Skater, the epitome of grace. This one may be the biggest change out of all the Pokemon here, as I felt normal Spinder was just too goofy silly for the type of graceful being I was going for. Spinder Marink here gets some ice skates and a dress and get up with some toxic chain bangles. They may be less clumsy, but they're still indebted to Pecharunt. I like the idea of this one being one of the more shy ones of the Loyal 18, choosing to only do what it has to get by, and spending most of its time away doing ice skating. Somewhere in Kitakami. Yeah, not much else to say, I just think it's a cutie. Spinder Marink, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and ice type. A Spinder that was fed up with being clumsy went to Pecharunt to plead for help. Now bound to Pecharunt's whims, it gained a sense of beauty and grace it never knew it could have. They skate around on any surface, not just ice, with a beauty that brings tears to those that watch it. It is quite shy though and will quickly skate away from humans. Although loyal, it doesn't like to control or bully people. The last of the video is fighting type, and who better to cap it all off than Cubone? Originally we was going to have it that Cubone was a similar thing to Imausu, where they had sort of a stand-in of their mother made from the toxic chain, but it was too similar. So instead I said, why not more suffering? This Cubone no longer cares about his friends and family and becomes a sick lone wolf, the toxic chain becoming almost like a man in the Iron Mask helmet, which is now locked thanks to their twin bones going across it. I like the idea that the helmet can extend out the chain arms with the bones being held, so it fights while still having 2 free hands for punching on. I can just imagine it latching on like a face hugger then starts smashing the enemy with bones from above. Little freaky thing. Armandalag, the retainer Pokemon, a poison and fighting type. A Cubone who had no more family lost in grief, Pecharunt came along and offered to be its family, and soon thanks to the toxic chain, it'd need no one ever again. Armandalag are incredibly powerful thanks to the stimulation of their muscles due to the toxic chain. Their bones are held aloft by a set of extra tendrils which can decimate with a single swing. Their bones are special and never break, even against steel-type Pokemon. Armandalag get irrationally angry if a foe manages to one-up them, and won't stop till they beat the foe to the ground. Oh, that was some of the most designs I've done in a video. So why not chuck me a like and share the video around? I'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on the designs in the video and what Pokemon of every type I should do next time. Hey, and maybe even consider becoming a member of the channel. Now I must go eat some mochi and do the chicken dance myself.